I attended MEPC 70, and I was really disappointed because, exactly as Topolos mentioned, the worst thing that can happen in IMO is that no decision is made. That has left us all in an uncertainty. We do have a lot of things to do before 8th of September next year. But in fact, we really don't know what to do, especially in terms of what kind of ballast water management system we have to choose. And on top of that, we now have 2 proposals for the implementation phase. The hope is that both sides of the room in MEPC 71, in the meantime, up to the meeting, will have some kind of compromise on where we will hope to be at the end of MEPC 71. There are even now unofficial meetings going on between the industry and some major flag state, trying to come up with a proposal to the other side of the room, arguing for sticking to the original agreement. But the hope is that everybody can come up with a common and agreeable and practical proposal for the implementation phase, which can be released before MEPC 71. So at least owners have some kind of a yardstick of where we might be. At least now we know the dates of entry into force. We do have a revised G8, which is a major step forward. Whether that can be aligned or will be aligned with the US Coast Guard type approval, I would say no. Because the fundamental difference will still be whether we are talking about dead or alive organism. But there's no doubt if a maker choose to do US Coast Guard type approval first, getting IMO G8 type approval will be a walk in the park. It will still be expensive, but it will be much easier. And we now have something new in IMO, and that is an experience building phase. It's a newly initiated correspondent group which will try to set up the goals for how we can get more experience. The major problems is we as an industry don't know how these ballast water management systems are working, if they are working. This will of course have a major impact on the ship's operation. All ballast water management operation will have to be carried out in accordance with a ship-specific approved plan. And a piece of advice, when making that plan, make it flexible, because there will be situations on board ships where you need to be able to use your common sense in trying to be compliant with the regulations. And there's a need for proper operation, because ship will be asked, have you done what you're supposed to do? And ballasting and deballasting, as we know it today, will for sure change. Not all ballast water management system will be able to cope with operations done by gravity, which means, first of all, the ballast system will be subject to more wear and tear, including the pumps, because there is today a lot of saving in using gravity. It's free of charge. It's done by nature, but it might not be possible in the future. A new thing that came up during MEPC 71 was the issue of system design limitations. Any system type approval will now have on the type approval certificate a specification of any limitation that system might have. There could be delays because all systems will not be able to be compliant if working in severe water conditions. The issue of the crew, that's going to be a real challenge. As said, many of the systems installed on board today are not being used, which indicate that crew will be starting from scratch on most ships, as well as owners. There's no doubt the initial crew being on board doing either an installation or retrofitting will be up to speed on how to operate the system, but for the second and third crew change, all that experience will be gone. One of the first things everybody will be subject to after 8th of September will be compliant with the D1 ballast water exchange. And for some ships, that will be easy, but for other ships, that's going to be a real challenge for everybody. Even with a ballast water management system on board, due to the cost of treating the water, there might be a lot of operators and owners and ship managers deciding to go for operating their ship with a minimum of ballast water on board, but that again can be a challenge for the ship in terms of stability and strength. It's also a good thing when making the ballast water management plan to include contingency planning, because there will be cases where the ship's ballast water management system will be in compliance. Record keeping is going to be a new challenge. We all know the problems related to the MARPOL requirements for carrying and keeping record books. There will still be a requirement to report. There will for sure be port date control issues, even from day one. Even though we have an IMO agreed trial period, ship will not be punished for non-compliant water, but they will be fined if all the operational and practical requirements are not fulfilled. And it's also very good in your plan to incorporate where the sampling points are located and how to sample, and what to do in case of non-compliant sample results. There is some kind of liability limbo, because everybody knows when taking an oil sample off the ship, you as an owner can take your own sample, which will be as valid as the official sample taken ashore. But for the ballast water, when any ballast water sample has been brought ashore, you as an owner do not have any control over what is happening. And as with everything coming out of IMO, it includes reception facilities. And we all know how long time that have taken in the past to get established. And port dates should learn that owners and operators cannot comply with the convention if signatory states do not fulfill their obligations. And what will happen if we are not compliant? There's no doubt that everybody will be required to stop their operations. There could be detentions. There will be investigations. There could be fines, as said, maybe not for non-compliant water if the system has been operated and your ships have done whatever possible. There will be delays, and there could be a commercial impact. And as we all know, any delay or change of a loading or unloading plan just will lead to unsafe condition, and it could also create further delays. And there will be breach of commercial contract, and that's not a good time for having that. And there could be port and terminals congestions. And what can we do? Our suggestion is that we try to buy as much of proper time as we can. Many flag states today have agreed, or at least announced, that they will be willing to look into detachment of the IOPP certificate. And even in connection with the Optimarine type approval, the US Coast Guard also attached guidance on how to apply for an extension letter in terms of the US. So there are still possibilities. But it's going to be a gut feeling. Do you want to be subject maybe to bottlenecks, or do you want to buy more time? I don't want to be the one that have to take that decision. Start now, even though if you have decided to postpone everything, things will take time. And in fact, in order to reach the deadline of 8 September for the practical issues, you should start now. Or at least considering setting up a plan. You need to designate a ballast water management officer, maybe both ashore and on board each ship. You need to develop and implement and get the plan approved. And try to keep it simple and try to keep it short. If you put another plan, manual on board the ship exceeding more than 30 pages, it's going to be uphill for the crew. And again, it has to be ship-specific, but try to keep it flexible. And then, of course, you need to obtain the certificate. Future needs, we have a lot of them. In fact, in our opinion, all flag states should go out and say, yes, if you can justify your case, we will detach your IOPP certificate. On the short term, as mentioned, we need to get agreement on the D2 implementation dates. And even though the rumor is that there shortly will be 2 other systems obtaining US Coast Guard type approval, we need more systems. Another issue, and I think many ports will be rather surprised about that, but ports being a service provider to the industry, they should also consider to have contingency plan what to do in case of malfunctions of ballast water management systems or other conditions leading to non-compliant water. In the long term, and that has in fact already started, it is so that IMO convention cannot be amended before after the actual entry into force. And we in the industry jointly are looking into where we need changes to the convention, because I think everybody can agree it is not the best convention which that ever come out of IMO. Also, ports and terminals should start looking into a part of their service for reception facility to have not only reception facilities for sediment, but also for non-compliant water. And in the conclusion, the ballast water management plan has to be on board all ships by 8th of September next year. You also need to have the certificate on board on the same date. The record book, the reporting need to be in place. Your crew need to be familiarized, both with D1 or, if applicable, D2. You have to establish further training needs. Most makers are offering training to crews, and there will be an increasing need for that. And also, please remember, the Ballast Water Convention is a discharge standard, so any water disposed into the sea on or after 8 September next year will have to be either D2 or D1 compliant. And timing will be of essence. Yes. Timing is of essence. By choice is for sure better than by force. Thank you.